This is lesson 4.5 out of the Introduction to Algebra book. In my class, lesson 4.5 is on page 90. Come on, pen. All right, page 90. And the title is, lesson 4.5 is Input, Output Tables. And if you've been following along since the beginning of this book, you've already pretty much seen input-output tables. So I don't think you'll have a lot of difficulty with this. This is just one-page notes and a pretty simple lesson. All right, so what we're going to do here is draw for our warm-up a quick quadrant 1 coordinate plane and answer some questions. All right, and the questions are plot 5 points, not really questions, statements, huh? And include one on each axis. Label each point and list the ordered pairs. All right, so that's the warm-up. All right, that being the warm-up, let's write down our I can statement for this lesson. On this lesson, we are going to learn, by the end of it, you'll be able to say, I can create input, output tables for functions. Okay, all right, so dark green pencil means we're done with warm-up and ready for notes. All right, so I just have one little note sheet that's going to go in its usual upper left corner. So you can just kind of, there we go, sorry. Get that in there better. There we go. All right, so you can just kind of fast forward through this spot unless you like watching me glue. Get my glue going here. And in the upper left, press it down, and I'll take my yellow highlighter and highlight good to know. All right, so we're not going to talk a lot about what's going on in here during this lesson because we're going to kind of go over everything this does in a more reusable detail around here that you'll be able to use while you're doing your worksheet lesson. All right. So first, as I kind of already said at the top, let's just write in here. I'm using my red pencil. You know all of this already. Because it's back to plug it in, do the math. Plug it in, do the math. All right, nice and simple. You've done this before. it might look a little bit different. Oh, I didn't underline that very well, did I? All right, it might look a little bit different, but it's the same thing you've done before. Okay, so I'm going to draw a table here, and I want it to be, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lines long. So I'm going to start here. Let's go 2, 4, 6, 8. How many is that? 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, 9 should do for a title. All right. Oh, looks like I got a perfect amount of space. And I'm going to go all the way over to here and back up here again. Let's see, am I in frame? Here we go. And across here. All right. So then I'm going to have a column here and about an equally wide column over there. And then here's where I'm going to put my headings for these columns. Okay, so this first one is input. You've kind of seen this before, and input is called X, right? And the function rule, that means the equation we'll be working with. Now we're going to call it a function rule. We'll talk more about that, why we call it a function rule later. But it's an equation. And when we plug in X into our equation, we're going to get an output of Y. This should look familiar to you. All right, I'm going to put a line across every 2. I want a 2-line box to work with here. So every 2, I'll put a line across here. Right? So there's our table we're going to be working in. All right, so here's our numbers that are going to be our X's, meaning what we're going to plug in. And they are 0, 2, 5, and 6. All right? And our function rule is Y equals 1/2 X plus 3, right? Now, you should remember we've done this before. We've taken whatever the value is for X, we plug it into the equation where we see X, and solve for Y. And then Y is our output we put in this column over here. So let's see how that works. So Y equals 1/2 times, what is X? Well, this time it's going to be 0 plus 3. All right, so remember your PEMDAS rules. You have to do your multiplying before you're adding. And what's 1/2 times 0? Well, anything times 0 is 0. And 0 plus 3, bring down the rest. So what's 0 plus 3? Well, it's going to be 3. All right, using my orange pencil for my output. All right, so we've got an input of 0 into this function rule, which gave us 3. We solved for Y. Y is 3. All right, so let's do that again now, plugging 2 in for X. So we've got Y equals 1/2. Now we're multiplying by 2 for our X. 2 plus 3. All right, so now 1/2 times 2, which is the same thing as saying 1/2 of 2. What's 1/2 of 2? Well, of course, it's 1 plus 3. And now 1 plus 3 is 4. Right? So when we put 2 in for X in this function rule, we solved for Y and got 4. All right, so now we have Y equals 1/2 times 5. Plus 3. Okay, so 1/2 of 5 is going to be 2 and 1/2 plus 3. So 2 and 1/2 plus 3 is 5 and 1/2. And I'm doing this as I'm showing the, I could have said 2 and 5/10, 2.5 uses a decimal, but when they're showing in the function rule a fraction, we should keep things as fractions. It wouldn't be wrong if you converted it to a decimal. It's kind of just more a proper way to do it. Keep your fractions with your fractions and your decimals with your decimals. All right, so here we go on the last one. we've got y equals 1/2 times 6. We're going to plug in 6 for x this time. And 1/2 of 6, of course, is 3 plus 3. And 3 plus 3 is 6. All right? So now we've completed this input-output table for this function rule of y equals 1/2 x plus 3. All right? Okay, now, why do we do this? What can we do out of this? Well, what we can get for this function rule is 4 sets of ordered pair, x and y, x and y, x and y, x and y. All right? So with my black pencil, I'm going to make a note over here to the side, and it's going to say, write the 4 ordered pairs from the table, meaning this right here. Okay? All right, so how would we do that? Well, we know ordered pairs are in parentheses, right? And I'm going to use just to keep the color coding together. My first ordered pair is 0 and 3. So I'm going to go 0 and y is 3. So x is 0, y is 3 in this first ordered pair. So x and y, that created my ordered pair. All right? The next one then is 2 for x and 4 for y. So where x is 2, y is 4. My third one is where x is 5, y is 5 1/2. And my last one, where x is 6, y is also 6. All right, so now I have 4 ordered pairs that I got from this function rule right here. Now, why is this useful? Well, you'll find out in the next lesson even more, but let's make a little note over here so you can see where this is going. Can you graph these? Okay? All right, so what I'm trying to show you where this is leading for tomorrow is that you can get a function rule, an equation. If it has an x and a y in it, it's a function rule, right? And you can plug in numbers for x and solve numbers for y, which creates ordered pairs, which you can then graph, which is what you'll be doing tomorrow, or whenever you do the next lesson. All right. Okay, so that's where we're going with that. That completes our notes. Let's take a look at some practice problems. Okay, so practice problems for lesson 4.5. There are 3 problems. Okay, the first one asks you to complete the input-output tables. So there's 2 of them that you need to work with, and it's the same thing we just did in the notes. Okay, you're going to plug in x into this function rule to get a y for each one of these values of x. I'll pause here so you can work those out. Okay, and then 2 and 3, on number 2, you're going to write the ordered pairs from 1a. That means from the table directly above. Write the ordered pairs here. And then 3, you're going to graph the ordered pairs. I'm going to change this. I don't like that. You're going to graph the ordered pairs from 1a. All right? So you've done these 2 input-output tables. And on 1a, that's the first one, down here, you will write down the ordered pairs you get from this table, from this input-output table, and then you're going to draw a small, I think this should all, yeah, this will all be in quadrant 1, so just a small like that, like we did in our warm-up coordinate plane, so that you can graph the ordered pairs that you wrote down here. All right, those are your practice problems, and I'll pause here for a moment. Okay, let's see how we do these. All right, in the first table, it looks like our function rule is y equals 2x plus 1. So I'm going to be plugging in 0 for x in this case, plus 1. All right, and 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. So there's my first ordered pair, 0, 1. All right, now on the next one, I have 2 times, I'm plugging in 1 for x, plus 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. There's my next ordered pair. On the next one, I have y equals 2. I'm plugging in 4 for x, plus 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is going to give me 9. On the last one, I have y equals 2. I'm plugging in 7 for x, plus 1. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1. 14 plus 1 is 15. All right? So I've completed that input-output table. Yours should look like that too. All right, let's do it on this one. We've got y equals 3 plus, and x is going to be 0. Okay? So 3 plus 0, I don't even need to drop down and do that on a second line. 3 plus 0 is, of course, still 3. Now we have y equals 3 plus 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now we have y equals 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. And finally, y equals 3 plus, plugging in 3 for x. 3 plus 3 is 6. All right, that completes that input-out table. Now, it's these values that we're going to be using for problems number 2 and 3. All right, so the first thing it says, can I keep that in frame, I wonder? Almost. Okay, so the first thing it says down here is to write the ordered pairs from 1a. That means this table here. My first ordered pair is 0 and 1. My second ordered pair is 1 and 3. My third ordered pair is 4 and 9. And my fourth and final is 7 and 15. Right? All my x's and y's are positive numbers, so all I need is is quadrant 1 to graph these ordered pairs over here. Now I notice my largest number here is 15 on y, so I'm going to have a pretty big one. So let's see, half of 15 is 7. I'm going to go 8 lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And about the same, oops, out of frame, here we go. About the same length. I think I've got that about right. All right, so the secret to doing this on line paper is you put a tick mark between the 2 lines and one on the line. Between, on, between, on, between, on. And when you do that, that pretty evenly spaces your tick marks. All right. Now, once you've got that done, you can try and match that spacing here. And they won't be exact. Nobody's, well, I won't say nobody, but most people don't have the kind of eye that would make this exact. But we can get close enough for what we're doing here. All right. So now we need to number. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Ooh, pretty close. Not bad, huh? All right, here we go. Now we need to graph these ordered pairs. So the first one is 0 and 1. Well, x is 0, and so I'm not going to go anywhere along my x-axis. And y is 1, so that would be right here, right on 1. The next one is 1 and 3. So x is 1 and y is 3. So it would be right here. Next one is 4 and 9. So where x is 4, I'm going to go all the way up as straight as I possibly can to 9. Okay, that's where that one goes. And 7 and 15. So where x is 7, let's go up all the way to 15 in as straight a line as I can, and it's right in between my lines on the paper, so I'm going to put it right here. Now, this is a linear function, which means it should make a straight line, and we will talk more in lessons down the road soon about what a linear function is. Now, because I'm not using graph paper and it's hard to do this freehand, it won't be an exact straight line, but it should be, and that's not actually bad. This one's not quite lined up with the 4, is it? Nope, it needed to be over just a tiny bit. But it should have been a straight line, and that's pretty dang close for freehand. Okay, so that's your practice problems for lesson 4.5. Let's take a look at your worksheet. Your worksheet, very simple. So you've got 6 input-output tables, just like what you were doing in your notes and your practice problems. This number 7 down here, right now, if I were you, take your red pencil or whatever you got and circle number 7. Students often don't see this one and miss it. It's very simple. Just write the 4 ordered pairs from the table in exercise 6. That's the last table that you did. Don't forget to write those 4 ordered pairs. That could be one that is graded, and you don't want to miss it just because your eyes just didn't see it. Okay. I'd like to point out, because students, as soon as they see decimals or fractions, kind of go, okay, let's remember real quick how to do on number 6 here. So when it says 1/4 times whatever you're going to plug in for x, remember that means 1/4 of that. That means divide whatever this is into 4 parts. In other words, whatever you're going to plug in for x, divide it by 4, and that's your answer. All right, you don't have to make a big setup of a multiplying fractions deal. Just remember, whatever you plug in for 8, if you divide it by 4, then what you get is 1/4 of that. All right. So I hope that helped you out, because sometimes kids want to make this more complicated than it really is. Okay, so that's your worksheet that goes with lesson 4.5. That leaves your exit ticket. Your exit ticket, as I always say, I don't show you how to do this. I don't give you the answers. This is extra practice for you, and your teacher might use it for some sort of assessment. Okay, so that is lesson 4.5 out of the Introduction to Algebra book. Remember, the only way to learn math is to do math, and mistakes are proof that you're learning.